Woo! Now we're having some fun. Ugh. I know this works. I'm gonna do it. I can do it. Flames! I'm having a little fun today. I thought I'd try some of my own power injection theories. Got myself a pie, some Duracell batteries, some 10 gauge black and red cable. I'm not sure which is which, but they're about the same, just different colors. Power supply, it's 12 volt, and some fire. I'm gonna have some fun. No, this is too confusing. I'm just gonna go back to what I know. Let's talk about sequencing. Hey folks, Ron Howard. Hey, did you like that intro video? Was that kind of funny? If you hate it, just let me know and I'll never do it again. I'm just making a little fun, having a little fun at the expense of power injection, the most confusing part of our entire hobby. Yes, I don't power inject. That doesn't mean I shouldn't. Doesn't mean I can't. I just would rather spend my time sequencing. Anyway, if you didn't watch Bill Porter's presentation on power injection, it's probably one of the best ones I've seen for people who are really confused about it. Go to xlight.org, watch Existentials in the video section. He does a really good job with that. So I picked up on some things I was unclear on. So do yourself a favor, check it out. All right, we're here to talk about sequencing. I did my intro. I've let you see the video play all the way through. When we last stopped on, it was I Saw the Ships Part 2, sequencing. This is Part 3, and I finished it. I'm done! Yay! I hope Paul likes it. I've already sent him the files, so I'm waiting to hear back. It's always nerve-wracking. Now I get to sequence it to my house, which is almost like sequencing all over again. But there's no other way to do it. Here we go. Let's talk about this. You just saw it. I hope you liked it. There are a lot of neat things in it. And before I forget, most important thing of all, thank you guys for being platinum members. I appreciate it. I really do. I hope you're getting a lot out of these tutorials and my little banter and my little attempt at comedy. So, here we go. We stopped at 47 seconds. I've put a lot into this. There's a few things going on that I can share with you. I'm going to bring over the big screen here, and I'm not going to make it too big, just so I can kind of see areas. We talked about the tree. I've added in some effects here with the candy canes just for that musical section. I'm having the Matrix do a lot of what the Mega Tree is doing with a few modifications, and of course just effects all around to fill it in. This really is about storytelling, so there's a lot of violin. There's a lot of violin solo because it's Lindsey Stirling. And the toughest thing for me, the most challenging, was to find the different voices that would represent the violin. So we'll check that out. Let's just go from this section right here to 105, and we'll play this. Here we go. Okay, so I just realized I'm not going to be able to hear that without my headphones on, so give me a second so I can hear with you. Let's do that again. Okay, great. I'm going to be stuck with the headphones on. So here I'm giving some voices to other models, the North Poles, these lanterns over here. I'm having basically a nice sweeping effect with the arches, with the rhythm of the tones. The drummers are still going, and we've elected to let the wall have a little more of a voice in this section. It's a little more upbeat. You've seen the tree before. The star was something just to keep in touch with everything else, including what's going on here with this Holdman stacked vertical flakes arrangement. And so it all kind of works. Let's see if there's anything interesting that we could point out. Not really. You know, yes, really. A lot of times people think spirals are just good for Mega Tree, and they couldn't be more wrong. It's great for a lot of things. And you'll see here, I used it in different iterations throughout these different props. For instance, the North Poles, I put it on there. And it's a matter of how you are going to invoke your layer settings. Vertical per model, are you going to rotate it? These are the areas where you really want to spend time and play. And I wish I could sit here and tell you from the very beginning of the song, I know exactly which effects and which layers I'm going to use and which layer blending and which of these crazy layer settings I might use. That's just not the case. I go in here and I cook from scratch and I start looking at things and trying to figure out where it might go by experimenting. So, that being said, let's look at this next section. I used a lot of the music effect throughout the sequence. See there, I double clicked on that and it plays that section. If you didn't know that, if you double click, it'll play that section. If you click once, it won't. And you can turn that off. You could actually change that in the settings and tell it down over here. Play controls or preview. Where's it at? Where's it at? And it's squirrel. I'm already doing other. Just know you can change it to here. I'm not going to go into that. All right, let's get back into this. What's going on in this little section right here? Not there. Let's just check here. Oh my goodness. So this is a nice little change. Listen again. So these are always fun parts for me where it tones down and you get to have a little fun by changing the overall feel. So it's going from really energetic into this bell, and then it's just this lull. So you see here the star, the Holdman arrangement here, this Bethlehem star at the top, all this stuff, even the poles here, all just kind of use a shock wave to fade out. And yes, my favorite color is blue. I think it's just an impactful color with things like this. And then it was time to give the Mega Tree some room. So let's go look at the Mega Tree. That's going to be up here a little bit further. This was really fun when I came across an effect I really liked. And so I started with the tree, and I think I have how many number of branches? 7. And with that tree, This is going to be tough. I need to move. I'm going to have to make this small guy, folks, so we can see what's going on here. And actually, we don't even need this right now. With the tree, I'm telling the tree to layer with this effect here, which is a lovely spiral, on top of another spiral. And this spiral is normal, this spiral is 2 is unmasked, which really doesn't make sense, which tells me, if you see things like this, I probably had other things here and never changed it. If I change this back to normal, it wouldn't do anything. It's going to do the same thing because there's nothing under it. So we'll leave it there, no big deal. But the effect here, you'll see I'm using a value curve. And let's go into this value curve. So basically, this is just starting up. It's a sine, and then I brought the amplitude down, and then the vertical offset. That's vertical offset's at 31. So the vertical offset just simply takes the whole amount and lowers it or increases it. And I use 31 for this. Or I can just cancel out of this since we didn't change anything. I'm trying to remember why I put this here. Control X. Yes. So the mega tree is inheriting an effect from something. And I was having a devil of a time trying to figure out where is that coming from. It's inheriting that somehow. So I put an off effect above it and it took care of that line. Still haven't figured out where that line's coming from, but it's there. If you have problems like that, put an off effect above it, then start your next effect below it. There we go. All right. And that's the tree. I really like this section because the tree is now giving the voice to the violin. Take a listen. And then, of course, what's better than having another one of these shock waves? And this next section I found quite by accident, which was exciting for me because I'm using the music effect, and that's what's giving me all these little shooting violin licks here. And I've set this up to start note right here at C4 all the way through a G sharp, 5th major, I guess. If Tom Betgeorge saw this, he'd probably be laughing right now because I'm not the musician at that level. I'm a drummer. All right. So anyway, the nice thing about the music effect is you can have it change what you're doing based on the number of bars you choose in it, the type, if it's a morph, I use mostly morph, sometimes on, and also where do you want the starting notes? The low notes are on the left side, the high notes are on the right. So if you bring it way over this way, just a small section of the high, it's only going to respond to the high notes. And then you adjust your sensitivity to how sensitive is it. And that's where you can get it to be a little more choppy to where it has to really hit that note before it does something, or it just everything starts going every time it hears notes in and around that area. And then furthermore, you can adjust the scaling. Are these individual notes? Are they blends? And I told you before in part 2, if your tree's not doing anything, click on the scale bars. Watch what happens when I turn off scale bars. It's not doing as much. See how it's just not as much. Turn it back on. And we're back in business. All right. Gotta love that. All right. Let's go to the next section because really in here, this is just for the violin solo in this section, at least this part of the violin. And then I want to play this next section. It's a lot more complicated and took a lot more time. And you'll see here I created its very own timing track called violin. If we turn off violin, you'll see, and let me scroll down here, that there's this stuff going on for my drumsticks, and then all of this for the arches. And I needed the violin to be on because I needed to treat each of the arches at the individual model level. Not everything can be done at the group level when you want to become very detail oriented. So I'm going to play this section right here. Let's take a listen. So there. The da 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 da. Right? That wasn't half bad. All right, when I listen back, it won't be as good. What I like about that is we're giving some voices to... Let me turn this off. I need to go find Canes, Verts. I will find them. It's in this section here. Let me just listen. No, it's in here. All right, let's see if... There they are. Okay, so I had them wrapped up. When I double click on the snowflakes vertical with star, Paul created that, which was very helpful. These violin marks helped me out tremendously. Let's go in here a little bit further. And you can see that and actually the star is up above. Normally the high note would be up here, but the star is just in this area, and that's fine. So this little section looks just like this. In the next section. And then the final. Great. So this is a great isolation moment here. It gives the viewers a chance, and I told everyone last year and this year I was going to be working more on isolations so that we're going to have everything going. And it's hard to do because you just kind of want to throw everything at the wall and see what happens. And I like this approach because it really does give some of the separate models their own voice, and I like that a lot. Okay, the next part here is all about build-up. Right? So let's listen to this. Yeah, so just in this little section here, it's just the arches. Arches are at the bottom. We think low notes, we associate it at the bottom. And we're also given room for, we're about to bring in a whole new instrument, and it's the mega tree. And we're going to continue building, and it looks like this. Great. So the arches. Let's take a look at these arches and how we got them to do that. Oh my goodness, look at this. So this is what can take a long time. And you just have to commit. And the people that have used Lightorama and other applications through the years, this is what they had to do. You weren't really able to cheat, so to speak, at the group level. Either you sequenced it or it didn't exist. And so much respect to that. So I have all the arches doing the same thing. It starts with this, which is just two middle, and I'm using two colors, and I have a brightness value curve here that is stepping this up in brightness ever so much. And it's the same thing. Oop, I better put that back on, huh? Brightness. Okay. On the second one, that goes 0, I think 0 to 25. This one goes 25 to 50, 50 to 75. So it's getting brighter each time, and then back all the way up to the 100%. And then when we have on this, on the last one, I have it do something different. And then on the does, these are different. Those go up. And then this one's a little bit different. Or is it this one? I think it's this one. Yeah. So anyway, we can watch just this section here. And then this next little section. Yeah, it's that little cascading da-da-da, and it starts the next section. But I know what you guys want to see. I know, arches are sexy, but the mega tree rules, right? Okay, let's go look at the mega tree. Holy moly, what's going on here? He's got too many things in here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 effects. Well, this effect here is pretty obvious. This is the level shape with the heart with slow downfalls, and we have that set to default. We look at the next one, it's the same thing. We've rotated 180 degrees. The next one, same thing, we rotated it 99 degrees or 90 degrees counterclockwise, and the last one clockwise to give you this shape effect, and they're all doing the same thing. Cool. Now, what about these swirls that are going across there? Ooh, well, I've added at the top of that these music effects, and I've told them to rotate, and I'm blurring the snot out of this because I just really want things turning and whirling in there, and they're actually moving to the music. Those are set to morph, and I have it really starting in the mid-range to the high end. I'm looking for the high-end shrieks of the violin to cut through that. And to get those to be seen on the second one, well, the first one is normal. The second one, I want it to do something to reveal what's going on beneath it. So I said 2 reveals 1, and that reveals this. And then the rest of these are all set to normal. And that's how we get that effect. I also said, well, why don't we see how that looks on the star as well? Actually, I'm sorry, that's the matrix. Did we do anything with the topper? We did. Here we are. So there's the topper. So why did I like this? Because it looks like an alien? A phoenix? A bird? No, to me, it just looked like something kind of conducting. It's kind of a cool effect. Let's just watch this effect from here. Right there. It's pretty subtle, and it doesn't take up a lot of room. It doesn't really get in the way and disguise. Watch it one more time, just a little bit. And you'll notice that the rest of the house is playing second fiddle. What a saying. Pun intended, right? It's really just slowly increasing in brightness with a nice saturated blue color back there before we get to our next section that looks like this. And we'll just play through this section. All right, so a little more action going on there. So if we just start, we're at the mega tree. Let's just look at the 2 sections of the mega tree. And really here, and you'll notice that this is still showing the violin. If I turn this back to beats, then you can see if it will do it for me. Catch up, there we go. So we're just at the beats here, and these are 2 sections I wanted to separate. This first section, this is the tree topper. It's doing some cool stuff, but what I really like is what the mega tree is doing. And it's just a fun effect. I like using marquee in places that they would normally ever be used. Mega tree might be one of them, much like the single strand effect does great on the mega tree. And really, the mega tree is using a band size of 1, skip 10, thickness of 58, which really wouldn't matter too much in this. If I took that down, that's really not doing anything. Okay. Then it goes right into a spiral. It's per preview, another spiral per preview with horizontal. Here's the fun thing about these type of effects. You've seen from some of the presets that I've given out that there are multiple effects within one preset. If we were to change this 2 as mask to something else, like 1 as mask, all of a sudden we have a different effect. Look familiar? It should. How about if we change it to 1 reveals 2? Completely new effect. You might like this better for your show, for your tree. 2 reveals 1. Shadow 1 on 2. Shadow 2 on 1. I was torn between this effect. I like this because it's a little more Christmassy in a way, but going back to, what did I use? 2 as mask. I kind of like this because it's up and down, and it looks like bigger bulbs to me, and I thought it was fitting. I also had the mini trees trying to complement the tree here, and basically not to take away or do the same thing, but just create some depth. Our next section, this section right here. Doop, doop, doop. So it's building and building, and I'm using the roof line up here a lot for the high-end violin because I like the colors. It reminds me of lightning a little bit, and it just makes me think this is what a violin might look like if it were lights on your house. I can't do that throughout the sequence because you just get bored. You would anticipate and expect it, and I'd rather throw you off and have something new pop up and say, oh, the tree's the violin this time, or this time it's the arches or something else. We also have all the drums going on. I've added some colors. I turned on the center section because submodels rule, as you know. I love submodels. And over here we have these doing something a little bit different. Let's watch this again. So same thing. I have these bouncing around, and a lot of times it's as simple as using, let me find this section here, North Poles. I'm using Marquee. If I scroll down here to some of these other ones, North Poles, left and right. That's just up and down, no big deal. Let's get to some arches. That's the wavy mediums. And so I don't know if you would expect to use this, but it absolutely works. So how do we have the arches turning like this using the VU meter? That's more simple than you think. So I'm using per model string line. I told you before in the last tutorial that I sometimes go to that. And it's as simple as using one color. You could use two. If I use the blue in there, it only uses the blue for this one. So choose the color you like when using this effect for the timing event sweep, not timing color where the colors would change. I really just wanted the yellow to pop out, and I wanted to go with the rhythm of the music, so I chose beats. And so that's what it's doing. Again, it's just a nice little march, and it keeps the rhythm of the music just kind of going. But not obnoxiously, because you've got the violin that is on fire, and you've got all this stuff just supporting the foundation. And that's about it. Let's go back up here. Let's look at this next section. Because I promised I would try to keep these short, but there's so much going on in this sequence. Let's listen to just these two sections here. Okay, so there's a lot of fun I'm having in here with this. Just this first section. And let's try that again. This second. So you hear that gong, gong, groove. And I just did something before it. There was already a whole house yellow shockwave right here. So I just changed the color to red, and I used two of these ripples and used the shape of a heart and had them flip toward each other. Rotate this way using zoom. Okay? And the zoom, of course, is over here. So I just have one rotate right, one rotate left, and it gave us something. Also, there's another interesting thing going on here with the icicles. And I don't know if you hear it. You will after I mention it to you. Let's see if it's right here. Okay, see, in the icicles there's, you hear these bells. Wind chimes is what they're called. Then they fade out. So I wanted to bring some attention while everything's going on. I wanted the wind chimes, just a beautiful sounding instrument. I wanted to give it a little bit of a voice in that, but not make it obnoxious and overbearing. I wanted to make it kind of subtle and sexy. So I used the single strand. I used a garland, and I used another single strand. And this is how I was able to get this to go. And again, when I know I want it to do something, I have to start hunting and thinking, what would make this work? Well, I know how garlands work, but I knew I would have to change it a little bit. So it's garland type. I put it to 0. Spacing is 54. Cycles 4. It is up and down, and then vertical per model per strand. And that's what gives me that effect, because this is the first strand. It is one is unmasked. What happens when I turn that to normal? That's obnoxious. All right, so I left off with talking about this effect. I put it back to what I like. And this looks better with this, so it doesn't overplay what's going on with the tree. So it's still kind of a subtle laid-back effect, and that's what we want. That's what I want. Anyway, all right, we're going to go to another section here. We're going to start this right here and go to that, about the 224. Almost through this, so hang in there, guys. I know it's long. I know it's a long thing, but if you want to see what I'm doing with these effects, I'm trying to explain it the best I can. So here we go. Let's just start there. Okay. So some more stuff. Here's another thing I found quite by accident with the tree, and I really liked it. And it didn't take but 3 effects to pull it off. And it was just the combination. You can see if you see spaces between the effects, you know I've had something there. I just didn't scoot this up. So on the top here for the mega tree, I'm using 2 spirals, and let's just pull this over to the side so we can see this in the preview window. I'm using blend in 3D with a palette rep of 2. If you have a smaller tree, you can do the same thing, just bring the palette rep down. Because you don't have as many strands, bring it down. Maybe bring the spirals back just a little bit. Bring the thickness back a little bit. And you can get it to look closer to a tree that has a lot more density. All right, so that was the first spiral. The second spiral, and that's, by the way, default none. Oh, but what am I doing? I've said before that sometimes I like to use subtractive. I love subtractive when it's necessary. So this is subtractive. This is subtractive. I flipped it horizontally. The rest of this is the same, right? 2 for the palette rep, same spirals, same thickness, same movement, same blend in 3D. The colors are the same, I believe. They are white and that other color. I guess it looks kind of purplish to me. I don't know. Don't ask me. And then here, because I mentioned just a while ago about how marquee and single strands can be great choices for mega tree when you use them just right. And this is set to band size 9, skip size 0, 23. It is using a blue and then that other color, and then we have single line. So question is, what does this look like if I take these off? This solves some of the mystery you may be toiling with. So let me do this. I'm going to cut these. Control X copies and cuts them. Now let's see what this is doing. Okay. So I get this effect from single line, blurred to 4, blurring the snot out of this, using those 2 colors, and the band size is 9, skip size 0, thickness 23, and then the speed is real slow, 3. How in the world are we getting this cool little spiral effect from a marquee? Because we can, and we did. And now I'm going to paste these back. Control V as in Victor for paste. All right, now when we click on this up here, that's what it looks like. That's a pretty cool effect, don't you think? I like it. All right, let's go to the next section. This is the last part. So I'm going to play from here and then let you watch the transition. Oh. With the entire show. Here we go. That's it. There's not a whole lot of gymnastics on this side. I mean, there's some Megatree stuff that's cool. It's got the heart, the swirls. It's kind of creating a motif. We started with this, we're ending with this kind of feel. I did add more things into the rest of the house, the wreath. I wanted some of the other elements to have a voice. Certainly the, where's it at here? That would have been the horizontals. Let me see if I can find these all. No, it's not in there. Vertical roof lines, matrix, wreath, icicles. We did the mini stars. We did the icicles to let them do something. This is another good use. I'm glad I kind of stumbled upon this. I don't have anything going on with the roof lines. It just looks like there might be. But these are all icicles here. And it's another great tool to kind of get all this stuff going here. These are the candy canes, the arches, the lanterns, the vertical snowflake tower here, and then the whole wall over here. Use VU meter if you want an effect like that. That goes with the music. Otherwise, you can use other effects like the marquee, or probably more so the single strand, but then you've got to kind of figure out the timing. With the VU meter, I'm telling it to use the beats, and it's in all of these sections. Here's the icicles, bars, and then you decide how many bars you need to see how much it's going to give it. Timing event spike, vertical per strand. When you change these, you get different effects. And that's it. We'll play this last section, and we're out of here. Well, that's all, folks. I'll see you next time. Take care.